Welcome back. Praise the Most High. Shabbat Shalom. We're continuing our study in Deuteronomy, and we're, of course, in Deuteronomy chapter 15, doing our third section in Deuteronomy chapter 15. Why? Because that's how the Most High led us. And this is the thing again, brethren. The Most High leads you in his word, lead you and guide you in his word. Lead you and guide you. Have you seen on many of the Bible studies that we do here? We start off doing something, and then all of a sudden, Father Spirit will cause us to go where he wants us to go, because apparently there's somebody that needs to hear something that he wants us to hear. There you go. So we let the Father Spirit lead us, but we start in the word of the Most High, and we finish in the word of the Most High. Praise his name. So we are just continuing in that study. Shalom. Welcome back to all of the family. And yes, and so we're in Deuteronomy 15. Let's start off where we left off. I'm gonna start read a couple of verses that we studied already, but let's look at the verse. I'm gonna start again at verse 4 and read down to verse 10, verse 4 to 10, Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 4 to 10. Save when there shall be no poor among you, for Yahweh shall greatly bless thee in the land which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Most High, to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. For Yahweh thy Most High blesseth thee as he promised thee. Thou shalt lend unto many nations, thou shalt not borrow. Thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. If there be among you a poor man, one of thy brethren, in any of thy gates, in the land which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thine heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thy hand wide unto him, and shalt lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanteth. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is at hand, and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him naught until he cry unto Yahweh against thee, and it be sin unto thee. Thou shalt surely give him, and thy heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing Yahweh thy Most High shall bless thee in all thy works and in all that thou puttest thy hand to. So he's again promising, these are promises. Promise was, he's going to bless you if you obey his word. He's going to bless you if you remember the poor brethren. If you remember the poor brethren, he will bless you. Again, let's uncover, let's unlearn something. He's not blessing you for giving money to an organization, denomination. He's not blessing you for giving money to a denomination. He's not blessing you for giving money to a religious denomination. He's not blessing you for that. I keep saying it because I'm trying to get you to unlearn. The tithe does not belong to those organizations, those 501c3 corporations. That is not where the tithe belongs. The tithe belongs to the poor, the fatherless, the widow. And let me just say, the working poor, the fatherless, and the widow. And of course, we know the disabled. I want to mention to you a couple of organizations that I myself feel worthy for help. And I do toss a little bit to them. I'm going to put them in the description box. One of them is called Invisible People. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Invisible People. And what this dude does, he was homeless. And homeless people in most cities, people act like they are invisible, right? They're not there really, but they're right there, right? And so he supports, and he supports homeless people, trying to get them off the street, trying to get them into housing, trying to provide for them. And he's helped hundreds of people that are homeless do that. And of course, in the United States of America, I'm sure, and he's been to England also, there's so many homeless people that it's almost impossible to end it all, but he's doing his part. And that's or Invisible People. Also, there's another one called Wounded Warrior, where men that have fought in wars for the United States and have been permanently wounded, in some way, can receive some support from people, and I find that these are really, good organizations in terms of they really are doing what they say they're going to do with the funds. And so that's the type of situation that, you want to look for. If you don't personally know somebody that's in those situations, some homeless situation, people that have fought in wars and have gotten maimed permanently. And if you know anything about support, they don't get a lot of support. When these soldiers come back from these wars, they don't get a lot of support. They're supposed to, but you'll find a lot of them traumatically, very traumatically affected. And they're some of them are homeless too, because the trauma they suffer, seeing the things that no human should have to deal with. Remember these people, and there's other organizations. There's organizations that, like I said, homeless. There's organizations that feed families with kids. Look for these things and see what you can do to help people that are in, worse situations than you and I might be. The Most High might bless us and we have all the food, the clothing we want, or what we need. And even more than we need, right? It shows up on our bodies. We ate too much, and then, but there's some people that don't have enough, or good, clean food, or even a roof over their head, or it's the adequate things that they need to help them survive month to month. And so just remember these people. I don't get no money for mentioning that to y'all. I'm just doing it because just giving y'all some ideas of some things that you might be able to do. And of course, as we mentioned before, the Most High will bring across your path people that you will be able to help, that you'll be able to do something for. And so remember that. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 15, from verse 11 down to verse 14. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore, I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, to thy needy in thy land. And if thy brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. When thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Now, this is how slavery was treated in the Israelite nation. There are some people that try to make an excuse for slavery and say, well, slavery has existed for thousands of years. Not all forms of slavery. When Deuteronomy 28 say you're going to go back into Egypt by ships and no man will buy you. And he said, whereby I spake unto thee. In fact, let's take a look at that verse, because many people misunderstand that verse. And I want to explain it to you so that you will get a clearer view of the verse, because it relates to how slaves were treated. So in Deuteronomy 28, in verse 68, Deuteronomy 20, and again, we're going to go to Deuteronomy 28 when we get there, but we're getting previews of it now. Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And when Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. There ye shall be sold into your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, let me explain that. First, we know, obviously, Egypt means two things in the Bible. The original meaning of Egypt, when you look it up, is Mizraim, one of the sons, I think the firstborn son of Ham, Mizraim, which became Egypt, named by the children of Japhet, named it Egypt. But initially, its name was Mizraim, okay, the land of Ham. But also we know that Egypt in the several places in the Bible, when it's mentioned, is called the house of bondage. I am Yahweh thy Most High, which led thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Okay, so Egypt is equated with bondage as well as Mizraim. Now, when you compare that to Exodus chapter 15, where our fathers were actually delivered from the Egyptians. Let's see. Actually, I want Exodus chapter 14. Exodus chapter 14. Exodus 14. This is what it means when it says, I told you, you will not see it again. Many people think you're not going to see the land again, but that's not what it's saying. It's actually saying Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. Notice what it says, Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. When he said, that's why I spake unto you, shall see them no more, he was promising his people the slavery would not come back to you. You will see it no more again. But then in chapter 28, verse 68, he says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. He's saying, you're going to go, if you are disobedient to the Father, you're going to go back into slavery. Does that make sense? So I told you you would not see it again, but that's based on your obedience. If you are disobedient to the Father, I told you would not see it again, but you're going back into Egypt by ships. You're going back into slavery by ships. And then it said, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondmen, and no man shall buy you. The word buy here doesn't mean they're not going to buy you as slaves. Obviously they did. But in the Hebrew economy, you can be redeemed, because most of the time in the Hebrew economy, a person became a slave when they were poor, when they had debts. That was the slavery. In the time of the Hebrews, of our fathers at this time, people became slaves for a couple of reasons. They were either conquered by a foreign power and taken into slavery, and that happened to us with the Babylonians, or they owed money, and therefore they had to work their debt off by being a slave for the persons they owed money to, right? That's another way. Or they were sold because of a debt or something. Now, in those last two instances, somebody could redeem them, pay off their debt. And it says here, when it says no man shall buy you, it's talking about redeem you from your debt, or you serve your 7 years and you were free. Not in the kind of slavery this is talking about. When it says no man shall buy you, no man's going to redeem you. No man's going to buy what you pay your debt for you and set you free. You're not going to be free after 7 years. You're in what we know now as chattel slavery. That is, we intend to enslave you forever. We're going to breed you, not because we want you to multiply, but because we want more slaves. That's chattel slavery. That's what Exodus 28:68 is saying. I told you wouldn't see it again, but if you're disobedient, you're going back into slavery. And because disobedience, and because you're going back into slavery, the type of slavery you're going into, no man's going to redeem you. You're not going to get out of it in 7 years. You're going to be in it. They're going to breed you to be slaves. Isn't that what happened? Do you understand how that's more accurate of what really we're talking about here, based on what Moses said to them in both occasions, in Exodus and in Deuteronomy? So that's what it's talking about. You shall see it no more again. I told you wouldn't see the Egyptians. You won't see them no more again, unless you break the law of the Most High, unless you worship other gods. Then you're going to see it again. Okay, that's what it's talking about. And not only will you see it again, you're going to go into chattel slavery. They're going to breed you to be slaves. They're going to be your enemies, and they're not going to like you. They're going to hate you, but they're just going to breed you to make more slaves, not to set you free. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 15. But let's go back to what the Hebrew economy slavery looked like. Okay. So when somebody was in debt, they had to serve the person they owed, and they served for 7 years, no matter what. Why? Because we know that after 7 years, debt were forgiven, right? So they served the person they owed for a maximum of 7 years. They don't have to be 7 years, depending on what you owe. Okay, now in verse 12, let's go back to verse 12 again. And if thy brother, a Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. Not just let him go and say, okay, you free from slavery. Try to make it to the north. Try to figure it out. Try to see how you can survive. No, that's not how we did it in the Hebrew. Verse 13. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Verse 14. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, that wherewith Yahweh thy Most High have blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. Now, when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, did they furnish us liberally when they let us go free from the chains? Did they furnish us liberally and say, okay, we're going to, you helped us get all this wealth. We're going to give you, wine. We're going to give you cattle to go with you. Here, take a piece of land and get yourself together. Did they do that? No, they did not. In fact, in the United States and in England, the government actually paid the former slaveholders for loss of property, millions of dollars for loss of property. They didn't give us nothing. Okay, absolutely nothing. They put us out on the street and we had to survive, and some of us starved. That's how it is. Okay, and that's all good, because you know what? We're going to get what we got coming to us, and they're going to get what they got coming to them. Nobody's going to get over in the Father's kingdom of judgment and righteousness. Nobody is. Even if they're children and grandchildren who have been blessed by the free labor of our grandfathers and great-grandfathers, they're going to get what they got coming. See? They like to say, oh, I didn't put my hand on nobody. You're going to see in judgment the sins of your fathers fall on you. See? There ain't no shortcuts. Ain't no excuse, brethren, for sin. And if you are dealing with the Hebrews like this, you are going to have a problem. I can promise you from the word of the Most High. And that's what I'm saying. Believe the word or don't believe the word. I choose to believe the word. Let's continue. Deuteronomy chapter 15. Verse 14 again. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith Yahweh thy Most High hath blessed thee, and thou shalt give unto him. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and Yahweh thy Most High redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. Verse 16. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee, and in thy house, because he is well with thee, then thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And unto thy maid servant thou shalt do likewise. Now, who had a servant like that? Tell me a guy in the Bible that you know that had this type of servant that said, I want to serve you forever. I just want to be with you, because you bless me, because you take care of me, because you're really good to me and my family. Who is that? It's a man named Abraham. That's right. His servant was Eleazar. Eleazar was so close to Abraham that Abraham said he's going to be the heir, because I don't have no children, and he's going to leave everything to Eleazar, his servant. Of course, Eleazar faithfully went and found the wife for his son, for Abraham's son Isaac of Rebekah, brought the gold and silver to him, brought her. It was Eleazar. So Eleazar was the servant. So you might, if you look at the story of Eleazar, then you will see what it's like to be treated nicely, to be treated well by the master, right? Eleazar was a servant, a black man, and he served Abraham, a black man. But Abraham took so good. Matter of fact, the Bible says that Abraham had servants, but he had them trained. And when he went out to go get Lot and rescue Lot and his wife and family, he said he took his own trained servants from his household. See, that's how Abraham treated his servants. They were trained, they were taken care of, they were taken care of so well, they didn't want to leave. Leave for what? This is really good what we got here. It's really good. He wasn't worried about getting beat with no whip, right? Or be dragged around like an animal, or be bought and sold like stock. They were taken care of like human beings. Okay, praise the Most High. That's right, that's righteousness, exactly. Praise the Most High. So that's how the Hebrews were taught to deal with people that owed money, people that were in debt, people that became enslaved, that was their brethren. Okay, let's look at it. Deuteronomy chapter 15. Okay, so the awl through the ear right? It's like an earring, right? So he poked a hole in the ear. You see that? He poked a hole in the ear, and then they poked a hole, and they used a piece of wood to hold the other side. And they thrust a hole through the ear. It became like an earring, and that was the sign that they were belonging to this man, whoever this man was that treated them so well. See that? Okay. Verse 18. And it shall not seem hard unto thee when thou sendest him away free from thee, for he hath been worth a double hired servant to thee, and serving thee 6 years. And Yahweh thy most high shall bless thee in all that thou doest. There's another promise. So you send them away, you bless them, you give them what they need. And the Most High said, don't worry about giving them what they need. Don't give them everything they need, because I'm going to bless you if you do that. Praise the Most High. Verse 19. All the firstling males that come of thy herd and of thy flock, thou shalt sanctify unto Yahweh thy most high. Thou shalt do no work with the firstling of thy flock, nor shear the firstling of thy sheep. Thou shalt eat it before Yahweh thy most high year by year, in the place which Yahweh shall choose, thou and thy household. See, so again, it's for the poor. The best, the first fruits, you could eat it, but you're eating it with the poor. You're eating it with your servants. You're eating it with your household, and you're bringing it to Jerusalem to share with the servants, with the Levites, with the fatherless, with the widow. You're bringing it there to share. Can you imagine, like, without steroids, right? A cow or an ox, right? Let's say a cow, right? Without steroids. So let's say a regular cow, you can find any. A cow might weigh what? Can I say 600 pounds? 400 to 600 pounds, right? A cow without steroids might weigh 400 to 600 pounds, right? So you bring the first fruits, the firstlings of the flock, and you bring that, and you're bringing it to Jerusalem. And now there's thousands of you bringing the firstlings, because there was thousands in Israel, right? And you bringing it. Now you have thousands of pounds of ox, and that's not including the sheep. I don't know, maybe a sheep weighs what, 50 pounds, 80 pounds? You bring in sheep, you bring it, and all of that meat is shared with the brethren, with the fatherless, the poor, the widow. Can you see why, how they would be well taken care of every year, and every 3 years coming to Jerusalem, they will be well taken care of, and they would not be left desolate, even the poor. Yeah, it was, and then you're not even dealing with grains. They would probably have hundreds of pounds each, because they didn't have machines like we do now, but hundreds of pounds of grains they bring in grains, they bring in meat, they bring in all that, okay? They bring in all that. They got vegetables, they bring in olives, they bring in oil from the olives, they bring in wine, right? They made grapes, they made wine, they bring in the wine and the bottles, thousands. That's why when David became king, what did the Bible say he did? He said he divided to all the people. He said a good piece of flesh and a good flagon of wine. He gave it to everybody. Everybody that came to Jerusalem, David gave it to. And that was thousands and thousands of people. Okay? That's why he said he would bless them if they gave, because they were taking care of people that didn't have nothing. They were taking care of people that didn't have nothing. And that, brethren, is the point. That's the point. See, now, where we are now in our enemy's land, we can't do what the heathen could do. See, the heathen are blessed with the money because they're the heathen. This is their system. The Babylonian system was made for the heathen. It wasn't made to bless the Hebrews now. So you and I are not in the position. The heathen and those that are in the heathen land and the entertainment industry, they're getting tens of millions of dollars. They could do a whole bunch of stuff. They could do a lot more than they're doing, and they could end poverty on earth if they wanted to. If they wanted to, there could be no more poverty on earth just from the rich heathen in just the entertainment industry. We're not even dealing with the heads of these corporations, which are greedy, but just in the entertainment industry. If all the entertainers, black and white, whoever's entertainer who was in movies getting $1 million contracts, and sports getting $1 million contracts, all of these cats came together and said, let's end poverty on the earth, brethren. In a year, done. All over the world, done. Okay, there be no poverty. if they wanted to do that. But that's not the case. The people that actually give the most are the poorest ones. You know, it's interesting. When I was in the SDA church, right? When I was in the SDA church, they was racist. And they had a segregation. They had black people segregated from white people. This was in the 1800s when they first became the SDA church. They had black people segregated from white people. And the white people didn't want nothing, didn't even want to know about the black people. But then what happened in the 20th century, especially in New York and Harlem, black people were giving to build their own churches because the white people wasn't helping them. They were giving them a little bit of money that they made, cleaning white people's houses, taking care of their little snotty nosed babies, doing the street work. Everything they did, they put their money together. This is a true story. And they built beautiful buildings. And they started coming and they were giving their tithe to their churches, to their money. And the white people said, we need to come together. We need to come together and share. Because they saw that as a percentage of what we made, we were giving way more. They were making way more than us by far. But as a percentage of what we made, we were giving more. We were giving more than them. Spanish churches too, same thing. Spanish churches would do the same thing. Spanish were poor. They were giving their little monies and they set up their stuff. Also now, white people say, oh, listen, we gotta share. You know. But at first, they didn't want nothing to do with us. But they saw that we was giving more of our little bit of money than they was giving of their abundance. See, and it's always been the poor to give the most. Always. The poor always give the most. Okay. Not in terms of pure dollars, but in terms of the percentage of what they have. They'll give what they have. Okay. And the Most High bless that. See, so even now we're in our enemy's land, we're in captivity. And like I said, it ain't got to be $1 million, it'll be $20. You know, it could be $20, it could be $50, it could be $100, it could be something like that. And you don't have to give it all the time. You give it when you got it like that. When you got it like that, you say, okay, I got $25. I mean, you can do that, you can help somebody. You understand? You could send it to invisible people or help the dude down the street or help somebody with some food or some sneakers or something. And that's what I like about it. There's no pressure to do it. It's when you got it like that. You know what I mean when I say that, right? When I say, when you got it like that, all of a sudden you look up and you got a little bit of 200, little 400 you could put away. Okay, you could do a little something. You ain't got to give them the whole thing. It's your savings, but you could do a little something, right? That's how you do it. That's us as Hebrews taking care of the poor, helping us help ourselves in that regard. Okay. That's how we do it. It does, really does. It does feel good to give. It does, And I know myself, I wish I could give more. But then I understand I'm just one person. I'm not the savior. So when I got it like that, I throw something, That's right. That's right, Stephen. And so that's what we should be. That's how we should be thinking. This is the principles, the word of the Most High is teaching us that, we have our brethren. And these are our brethren. These are our brethren, our family, both the true bloodline Hebrews and the grafted in. That's our family. So we got to know, this is what we're doing. So how can we help? Well, ask your Father in heaven, and he will open up a door, and he will show you where your little bit is needed, and he will bless you to do that. And you're going to feel really good in secret with your Father. That's brethren. That's the thing about joy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you give, nobody knows what you just did, but and the people that's helped, they help, and they give you a joy. Nobody can understand where that joy is coming from, but you know where it's coming from. The Most High has used you to bless someone. That's a joy right there. Okay, that's a joy right there. Praise his name. So they would say, look, verse 20 and 21. Notice what it said. Thou shalt eat it before Yahweh thy Most High year by year in the place which Yahweh shall choose, thou and thy household. And if there be any blemish therein, if it be lame or blind or have any ill blemish, thou shalt not sacrifice it unto Yahweh thy Most High. Verse 22, thou shalt eat it within thy gates. The unclean and clean person shall eat it alike, as the roebuck and as the hart. Only thou shalt not eat the blood thereof. Thou shalt pour it upon the ground as water. Again, he stresses multiple times. Do not eat the blood. So, it is not hard to get it out of it's not hard. Okay. First of all, you cook it thoroughly. obviously. And if you're in a restaurant, that's why I say make sure the stuff is done. When they say, "Well, how you want your steak, Mr. G?" I said, "Listen, I need it well done, and I'll cut it open. I don't think this is well done. Take it back," and they'll do it. They'll do it right. And my wife and I have certain restaurants. They know us when we come in. They know how I like my stuff, and so they do it proper. Okay. Or if it's chicken or whatever, make sure they cook it well. And it's usually done. Chicken not hard to cook well, man. And especially you go to the Spanish places, you go to the Puerto Rican places, the Dominican places, the Colombian places. They know how to cook that stuff, man. They know how to cook it, and they cook the chicken well, and the fish too. They just don't want to eat the blood. And when you're at home, very easy. Put it in some water. You soak it. You can boil it a little bit. You can put some apple cider vinegar in the water to get the blood out, and then you cook it yourself, and you cook it well. It's not hard. Okay, make sure it's cooked, but you want to make sure the blood is gone when you're done. Okay, and it's not hard to do. And so once you do that, that's healthier. That's not only healthier, Most High is going to bless you because you're obeying His word. You're not eating the blood. Okay, you're not eating the blood. There you go. Right. So He told our fathers when they killed that animal, you let that blood drain out. What we call that today, when you're doing it with they call it dressing the animal. Isn't that correct? They call it dressing the animal. Okay, you call it dressing the animal. And so they made sure, halal, that's right. They made sure that blood is drained out, hung out. They strip it down, take the skin off, all that. And that's how they do it. Okay, make sure it's good. That's why, like I said, I look at organic stuff farm raised and fed properly, and stuff that if I can find halal, I'll get it. Or even, organic, or even sometimes it's rare, but I can find sometimes kosher. Even all of that is your best bet in terms of kosher, halal, organic, as much as possible. Try to get that. It costs a little more, but listen, if you're going to eat that, then that's the best thing for you to eat. Same with the eggs, organic, farm raised, fed right. Those chickens, that's how kind of eggs you're going to get. So you make sure you get that. Okay. That's how we do it. That's the healthy way. That's the healthy way to do it. That's the Hebrew way. That's the Hebrew way to do it. Okay, that's the Hebrew way. That's how our Father is teaching us. That's the Hebrew way to do it. And so, again, that, brethren, is now. I want to. This is how we do it. That's right. So we looked at chapter 14. We started in 14 on the area of helping the poor, actually, because in chapter 14 it talked about, and then when you talk about verses 27, 28, and 29 of chapter 14, and the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. At the end of 3 years thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he has no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come and shall eat and be satisfied. That Yahweh thy Most High shall bless thee in all the work of thy hand, which thou doest. Now, we saw also, we're going to see also when we continue studying Deuteronomy, they weren't to glean the whole field. They were to go through the field of their own field. There's olives or grapes, go through once, or corn, and then leave the rest, and never do the corners, never do the edges. So if you have a square, the edges, there was a buffer that was not to be touched. Why? Because the poor, the fatherless, and the widow would be able to go in your field and eat. And that's what Messiah did on the Shabbat. In fact, when you look at Matthew chapter 12, when we look at Matthew chapter 12, beginning at verse 1, Matthew 12, beginning at verse 1, and verse 1 and 2, it says, at that time, Yahushua went on the Sabbath through the corn, and where corn is grain, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. They didn't even know what the Sabbath day was about. They didn't understand it. And this is what happened when you have man-made religious bodies, such as Sadducees and Pharisees, because they was sad, you see. because they were not following Father Yah. Messiah, who is the Lord, the master of the Sabbath, who came forth from the Father, he knows that they were supposed to be able to go through anybody's field and pluck whatever's there. In this case, it was corn, because the owner of the field was not supposed to take all. They're supposed to leave all the corners of the field for somebody like them to walk through and eat what they needed to eat. Okay. And he said, when you beat like now you see a fruit tree or olive trees or fig trees, they beat the tree to get the fruit off it, but they were only supposed to beat it once, go through it one time and get what they could get. The rest, whatever stayed there, was supposed to be left for the poor, the fatherless, and the widow. They were supposed to be able to go through your field, get some grapes, get some olives, get some apples, whatever you growing, oranges, whatever you growing, they should be able to go in after you finish, go in there and get what they need and get and eat. That's another way the Father was taking care of the poor. That's how he was taking care of the poor, see? But when you get religion involved, Sadducees and Pharisees and Christianity, now you're adding your own rules to stuff. This is the new covenant church. Well, this is what it says in Hebrews about new covenant. No, this is different. This is a new covenant. Well, that's your own new covenant, right? That's not the Father's new covenant. They're always, one thing about religion, they will always depart from this. 100% of the time, they will depart from this. 100% of the time. They'll say they're using this Bible, but they'll depart from it. They'll add their own rules. 100% of the time, they're going to add their own rule. Something like last week. What was this? Somebody was in this room. Y'all remember last week? We supposed to wear beards. It's a command. And I asked for the command. I asked for 2 or 3 witnesses. There was no 2 or 3 witnesses. Somebody added their own rule and said we must all wear beards. That wasn't in the Bible. What happens when you get religion is man put his tool upon what the Most High said to do. So here's Messiah. He's going through the field. Him and his disciples are hungry and they're eating corn. Messiah's full-time job was ministry, and he wasn't asking nobody for money. Women gave him money, but he wasn't asking nobody for money. And so they didn't always have no loot on them. Then they had Judas stealing the loot. So they went through and they plucked the ears of corn and they began to eat as they were supposed to. But here come the Pharisees. That's not lawful. Imagine that. Pharisees telling the Son of the Most Righteous One what the Sabbath is. Isn't that amazing? But that's what they did. And so Messiah basically gave them here in Matthew 12. Notice what he said between beginning at verse 3 and going down to verse 8. But he said unto them, have ye not read what David did when he was hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of Yah and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, for neither them which were with him, but only for the priest. So what did he bring that up for? Because, brethren, when you're hungry, you get food to eat. And you don't want to steal it, right? So David was hungry. And so the bread that was only supposed to be for the priest, David ate it because why? Him and the dudes that were with him were hungry. And the priest gave him the bread to eat. That's all they had. He said, that's the only bread we had. That's all we got here. Yeah, you can have it. So even if it was against, Messiah said, even if they weren't supposed to do it, they were hungry. But you see, brethren, that's what religion does. It will make you suffer for the sake of religion. And Messiah was trying to put an end to man-made laws that make people suffer with something that was supposed to be a blessing. The Father intended for the food to stay in the field to bless the poor. But if you leave it to the Pharisees, no, you would just starve. Like the Sabbath. The Sabbath is supposed to be a memorial to remember Father Yahweh created the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all them in there is. What he's trying to do is tell you, I don't want you doing what you do every day on the Sabbath. I want you to stop what you normally do. You know, you out here hustling, doing what you do, but on Sabbath, I need you to stop doing what you do. And I need you to acknowledge I've created everything. And then somebody would ask, well, how do you keep the Sabbath? Let me ask you a question. If any of y'all been raised where you kept holidays, have you ever had a family 4th of July picnic? You ever had a Thanksgiving where your family get together? You ever had Christmas when your family get together, or New Year's when your family get together? Have you ever did that? Have you ever done any of that? That's every week on the Sabbath. It's a holiday every week. That's what it is. It's a holiday where we're acknowledging our Father's the creator every week. That's what we're doing. It's a holiday. That's what it is. It's a religious holiday every week. We try to, we get together. My wife said, right now, my wife and I, we were just talking this morning, on Sabbath, we usually when our kids were little, she'd make special food. I'd take them out to the park and we'd run and play with them and then come back and they looked forward to the Sabbath because I couldn't do that all the time because I was trying to hustle and get this thing, get them dollars, stack that paper. But on Sabbath, I wanted it with my kids. And then I take them out and then my wife would make a big meal and they were looking forward to this when we came back. That was Sabbath. That was giving honor to the Father. The kids used to love that. Okay. And then we'd have people when they got older, my kids, I'd have people come over and we'd have fellowship. Some of y'all remember, Sister Violet, remember the Mercy, remember we have fellowship and we'd enjoy and we break open the word. And sometimes we have fun, man. It was good. We laugh and praise Most High all afternoon. And now my wife and I are saying, since we just came down here to Florida, we like a little quiet and we're enjoying a little quiet Shabbat, me and my wife. Just listening to the birds. It's all good for us. Did my little exercise this morning, prayed, studied. Did my little workout, all good. See, but that's what the Sabbath is for. Shabbat is a holiday for you to remember who your creator is and say, this is for the creator. This rest, this chilling, this what I'm doing today is for the creator because he made me, because he made everything. Praise the Most High. So it becomes just like a holiday, like y'all would do for your Christmas, y'all would do for your Thanksgiving, y'all would do for your Easter, y'all would do for your 4th of July, whatever. You coming together, you chilling, you relaxing, and you just, you feasting if you're going to do that, but it's for you to chill. It's not for you to be all, it's not for you to wear long dresses and wear long beards and stay all day in your house praying. That is what religious people would call you to do. You understand? But that's not for us. But that time, the Most High say, that's why I say, it's like 3 weeks ago. It was like, I've been at this new job since the beginning of October. So I said it was my 3rd week or my 2nd week. So this dude decided to have a meeting. Now, even in my consulting business where I work government consulting. Okay. I do IT consulting work. So one of my supervisors in the consulting field, what I like about it is when you're consulting with the government agencies, right? Nobody wants to have meetings on Friday afternoon because most of the government people don't even come into work. Friday is kept on Friday afternoon. So nobody from the consulting companies want to have meetings. Well, this dude decided, I don't know if he wasn't getting along with his wife or whatever. He decided to have a meeting at 4:00 on Friday. Okay. So I'm sitting there and the meeting was only supposed to be 15 minutes, but here we are, an hour into it. It's past 5 now. Now it's going on 5:30. And I said, listen, so-and-so, this is a religious day for me. And I got to go. It's getting on 6 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry. And he ain't do it since because I told him, I said, no, Friday is a religious day for me. I got to go. And he was my supervisor. I could have gotten in trouble, but I did it nicely. And they didn't bother me about it again. Now, we still have meetings on Friday at 4, but they done by 4:15. And in fact, I'm running the meeting. So it's done by 4:15. That means done. Because I told them it's a religious holiday. Okay, it's a religious holiday. No, can't do that. It's a religious holiday. All right. So that's what I'm saying. The Most High would take care. You do it, you do it with class, you do it with, with peace, and you explain it, this religious holiday. And if they ask, like I've had this happen, well, I'm a Sabbath keeper. Or and they'll say something like this, well, I'm Jewish too. I said, I'm not Jewish, but I'm a Sabbath keeper. So we do it a little different than you. Because they're trying to make excuses to why they disobeying whatever their religion is, why we should too. No, I'm not Jewish, but, we keep the Sabbath. And then somebody will say, I've had somebody say, well, I need a letter from your pastor. I am the pastor. And you can say it too. I am the pastor. And I'm telling you, I keep the Sabbath. That's all they really need to know. Okay? Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. But listen, I'm not trying to judge y'all that work on Sabbath. Please don't take it that way. I'm not trying to do that. If you are convicted, we are in Babylon. And not only that, if you're a police officer, fireman, or you work in the medical field, you're a first responder, you got to work when somebody needs you. You understand? When the electricity go out and it's 110 degrees and these old people or people can't get the air conditioning, you have to work. I don't care what day it is. Or if it's 10 degrees outside and it's snow and power goes out or the heat goes out, get dressed, go do your job because people need you. That's life-saving stuff right there. That's different. Okay. But if you work in a bank, insurance company, ain't nobody going to die for lack of money because you ain't there. But, you got to, Babylon is Babylon, right? But I've had confrontations like that too. And the Most High is taking care of me. But I'm going to leave that to y'all to be convicted. But he will take care of you if you take a stand for the Shabbat. Yeah, yes. Yeah, there you go. All of that. So the Most High guides you because we are in Babylon. Okay, we are in Babylon. But if you are, let me put this delicately. Okay, if you are not convicted or if you are afraid, don't worry. At least on Friday night, like my wife and I, on Friday night, we pray and open the Sabbath together. So you could do that. If you got to work Sabbath during the day, the Friday night, you could get together, you could pray, you can acknowledge that the Most High will take care of you. Don't worry. Okay, don't worry. He'll take care of you. Yeah. There you go. See, but that's what I'm saying. And what I would have did, I'm just saying, I'll say, I don't eat shellfish. Can I get some whiting with this, or can I get some red snapper? Can I get some chicken with that? Can you get me the can I get some chicken? Something, That's right, Rua. Pray on and let the Most High guide you. Me, myself, I've been fortunate. I've been, since I was 12 years old, when I learned about the Sabbath from my great aunt and my grandmother, may they rest in peace, from Jamaica. They taught me about it and I learned about it. And then I went away for a few years and then I came back and when I was 21, and since then till now, and I'm 61, for 40 years, I've been keeping the Sabbath continually. So, I've seen all kind of stuff, man. Believe me, seen all kind of stuff. Yeah. Exactly. That's right. Say, listen, you can hook me up with chicken place, beef place, steak joint with something. I can't do that lobster thing. Maybe some red snapper. How about that? Something like that. If you want to hook a brother up, I ain't gonna deny it. I ain't gonna stop you. Only one way, honestly, prayer. It's not complicated. Prayer. I just read from Genesis to Revelation and let the Spirit guide me. Remember now, I've read through the Bible 19 times. This is not my first time through. So the more you read through, the more scripture will come to you. That's how it happens. It's not something that happens instantaneous. And I've read through it the last 18 years in a row. The first time I started, like I said, I was 12, read till I was 15. It's the first time I read it through. It took me 3 years. And then from 18 years ago, whatever that is, at 2004 to now, I've read it through each year, 18 straight times, 19 times total. And so this time I'm reading right now is my 20th time, actually. Yeah. So I'll be finishing my 20th time by the end of March, by the grace of the Most High. That's how you learn the scripture. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. Read the scripture through. Let the Father Spirit guide you. It's very simple as far as that. Most people don't have the patience to do it. Most people don't have the humility to do it. Okay, but you just let the Father guide you through His Word. It's as simple as that. Pray over it. There's going to be a lot you do not understand. That's period. Don't think you're going to understand. And don't let nobody put an expectation on you that you're supposed to understand it because you're reading it. No, you're a student. That's what it means to be a disciple. A disciple means a discipline. You're a student. You're a student of the Messiah. You're a student of the Father. Okay, so you're a student. It's like you go to school for anything. You go to school for electrical, or you go to school for carpentry. Nobody expects you to be able to build a house because you've been there for 6 months, right? You're in the carpentry school, you're in the auto mechanic school, you learn things, but you definitely don't learn everything. It takes you years. That's right. There's always somebody, you reading that Bible, you should know this and you should know that. Well, I always say, well, wait a minute, you read it, and how many times did you read this for you to judge me how long I should be, how much I should know? You know what I'm saying? Nobody could tell you how much you're supposed to know, but you understand it's going to take you a long time. It's all right. The Father Spirit guides you. And the more you read it through, the more you'll know. Okay, the more he'll reveal to you. Yeah, don't do that. Yes, right, brother Akawamba. Yeah. Don't measure yourself by other people. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, it's a trap. You'll learn when you learn. And what you're supposed to learn is what you will learn over the time. It takes time. Let the Father teach you. Just be a humble disciple, and he will show you. He will show you everything you need to know. And when it's time, you'll start being able to teach. It'll come to you. The Spirit will guide you if you're supposed to do it. Don't worry. See, I've been called to teach. And that's why in my preparation, Father had me read the scriptures 19 times. Okay. Yeah, so praise the Most High. See, don't let nobody, don't measure yourself by anybody else. People like to do that because capitalism is a competitive society. Babylon is competitive by nature, right? Babylon is competitive by nature, okay? And look, the first competition was Asatan competing for Father's throne. Asatan was competing for Father's throne. Okay. And ever since then, his whole system is based on competition. Don't get caught up in that. Okay. Don't measure yourself by other people. Let Father Yah measure you. And he will tell you how you're doing, and he will show you, and you'll know. Don't worry. You'll know. You'll know. Don't start getting caught up in Babylon's competition. Competition can be fun, right? When you're out playing ball and you're playing against somebody and you guys are going at it. I mean, me and my youngest son, and my oldest son too comes back, but me, mostly my youngest son, when he got to be 15 or 16, there was this full court in the neighborhood, but it was shorter than a regular full court. It was set up like a full court, but it was shorter. It wasn't completely like the 90 feet. And we would just go, man, until it was dark. We would just go back and forth. And that was fun. That's competitive, but it was fun. We wasn't trying to hurt each other. We played hard. But in terms of growth in the spirit, don't do that. Take competition away. There's no competition when you're growing in the word of the Most High. There's no competition. You're not competing against anyone. You're not measuring yourself by anyone. You're just the object of reading this word is to glorify your Father. That's all you're trying to do. Keep that in mind. You're only trying to glorify Father. You have an audience of one in terms of who's really matters here. It's the Father. That's your audience. You also have angels. You also have Messiah, but everybody's trying to help you. Everybody's trying to help you. They're not in competition with you. They're trying to help you. And so your audience is just Father. You want to please him. And so when you're studying his word, it's for his glory. When you're learning, it's for his glory. And the more you read, the more he will bless you with his spirit. It's for his glory. Okay. So don't get caught up in how fast you need to learn and how many years we got left. Go at the pace Father gives you. I said, it take you a year to really read through his word. Don't worry. If you only get to read it through 3, 4, 5 times before it's time for us to go, okay, the Father will use that. He will use that for his glory. But take your time. Okay, take your time. Let him lead you, and you will be able to put the scriptures together. One of the things I did too is I look at the cross references, and in this Bible that I got right here, like the one that I've had the most that I've used was Nelson Publishers, because Nelson Publishers had really good, and this is Nelson too. Nelson Publishers had good cross references. The Seventh-day Adventist made one, and honestly, it's the worst. The cross references are horrible. But Nelson Publishers, for the most part, make good cross references. And let me tell you something. If the cross references don't make sense to you, it's not because you don't know. Sometimes they just don't make sense. I've learned that over the years. Sometimes you get some really good cross references. Like there's a Nelson Bible that they used to sell in Walmart. It's a big print. Have you ever seen it? It's cheap too. It's like $10, $15, $20. It's a big print. It's cheaply done. It's fake leather, but it's usually a Nelson Bible. I don't know if they still sell it in Walmart, but it used to be a Nelson King James Bible. And I got them for my kids and my grandkids. And the cross references are excellent. You know, that's another thing. You go to the cross references and look and see what is relating to that. And then after you read through the Bible multiple times, you'll start to realize the cross references yourself. You start to say, hey, I read this over here too. This is, and one hint I want to give you, if it's in the New Testament, it's in the Old Testament. And if it's in the Old Testament, it's in the New Testament. And the game is finding where they are. Where is this in the Old Testament? Where is this in the New Testament? As you read through with the Father's Spirit, he will open your eyes to it. Don't worry. Just be a disciple, be a humble disciple for the glory of your Father, and he will bless you. He will bless you. I hope that answered your question only one way. I know we went way deep into it, but I hope that answered your question. You will start to see it, though. Don't worry. It's not something that's going to be instantaneous. He will guide you. He's testing you, too. Do you really want to know for his glory, or is it for yours? Do you really want to know, or don't you? Are you willing to wait? Are you willing to dig into this word to get it, or aren't you? He's testing you. Test you with it, okay? Test you with it. And so that's how you do it, man. But like I said, this is my 20th time going through it. And every time I go through it, I learn deeper truths all the time. I can't tell you, I learned so much from going through the word. Okay, beautiful, only one way. That means you're a virgin in reading the word, and the Most High is going to show you the ropes. Praise the Most High. And you got the best teacher in the world, and the Father and his Spirit, and let him show you. Don't be influenced by churches. Be influenced by the Father's Spirit. Let him guide you. Learn things, and then when you learn things in the word, you're going to see, man, I didn't know it was like this. I thought it was like that. And that means you're going to unlearn something. Right? You're going to unlearn stuff. You're going to learn stuff. Praise the Most High. It's going to come. Just be a disciple for the glory of the Father, and you'll be all right. You'll be all right. All right. Well, that was Deuteronomy chapter 15. Took us 3 sessions, worthy of that. And we're going to come back and start chapter 16, which is going to go into the feasts next week by the grace of the Most High. We'll come back and start chapter 16, which goes into the feast. Praise his name. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, my brethren.